So the entire Gacha community at large has been losing their minds over the latest Duet Night Abyss news, as you guys should be. It's monumental news worth talking about. And some of you may have some concerns that I might want to go over in this video, just to like kind of give a bit of a nuanced perspective on it, because I do kind of see where some of you guys are coming from. But I think the Duet Night Abyss team has absolutely earned some leeway if you just look at what they've been doing over the past year, as I've been working with them over the past year on this game, providing feedback and watching them do monumental, game-breaking, game-changing changes that I don't think I've ever seen another developer do. And I mean that. Like, they keep changing the game, all in an effort to appease the consumer and deliver a product that we all can be proud of to play as fans of the game, or people of interest of the game. But before we go any further, obviously, I went to Germany to attend the 2025 Gamescom, and I was sponsored by Duet Night Abyss to just experience the booth, experience the game and the changes they've made, and come back here and give my honest thoughts. They also told me to check out the live stream and go over the highlights of the live stream. And obviously, most of you people that are watching this video probably just want to hear my thoughts on things and what I think of it. I mean, it's incredible, man. It is. There's like one little caveat, which we'll have to see when the game launches, but it's absolutely genre changing news. You see those clickbait titles out there where the content creator goes, "This game changed my life," and the game did not change their life at all. This is a change that can quite literally change the gacha player's gacha life forever. You know what I'm saying? And what I mean by that is, if this company is supported by the gacha player at large and we make them a monumental success, that sends a message to every developer around them that, hey, we don't have to do this predatory, maximum FOMO induced monetary practice we've been doing anymore, because it's clear by the Duet Night Abyss success that model works. We can make not only a sustainable business model, but a profitable business model, a flourishing model of business, by simply removing the FOMO and allowing our players to play these games to their heart's content, grind them out, acquire all the characters, acquire all the weapons, play the game the way games are supposed to be played, right? Like, that's the whole point of it all. We can do all that, and we can just move to cosmetic monetization, and of course in-shop purchases for people who don't want to do the grind. As you know, the majority of these games, they're not PvP, they're PvE. Doesn't matter if somebody else gets ahead of you, brother. It's a single player game. You go at your own pace. I think that's the most feasible way, and Duet Night Abyss has done this. It's beautiful. But before I get ahead of myself, let's go over the highlights of the live stream. I already watched it. I just want to go over the most important changes, and I want to comment on each and individual one and share my perspective on them. And then at the end, I also want to show off our Gamescom experience, because that was one of the most wholesome experiences I've ever had in the entirety of my career. So without further ado, let's cut the yapping to the minimum. Let's get into it. Starting off with the big one: no more gacha, no more stamina. This is the thing that's been making everybody lose their minds. And it's honestly unbelievable news. So the way that this works is, you no longer have to worry about pulling on characters or pulling on weapons, nor do you have to worry about the characters and weapons being time limited to acquire them, putting maximum FOMO on your heart as you play these games. That has been completely obliterated. And then to add icing to the cake, I don't even know if this is icing. This is like just part of the cake itself too. They've removed stamina entirely, so you can now grind this game to your heart's content. So how are they going to make money? Well, they've now went into the route of, one, you can go into shop purchases to buy characters outright if you don't want to do the grind. Once again, this is for the sake of convenience for players who do not want to grind. They would rather buy the character outright because they're either impatient or they just don't have the time to grind as much as the unemployed, or the guy who just plays the game 12 hours a day because he just can't stop playing it. He's got addiction. That's what the in-shop purchases are there for. Now, again, that's also a bit of the caveat, and I want to be fair here and cover it. But before we do, then there's the other alternative, which is they're pivoting their gacha system into cosmetics. Now, they haven't exactly specified how that's going to go. Like, you're going to pull on and do some like gacha until you get a cosmetic. I don't really know how that's going to work, but they did confirm that cosmetics are going to be a big avenue for their income. And in case anybody's going, how are they going to make money there? Well, how the hell do you think League of Legends became one of the most successful IPs, you know, Riot's games, TFT, Teamfight Tactics, in all of the goddamn world? They only do, you know, cosmetics. You know what I'm saying? Well, they started off that way at least. There's a number of games out there that have ran a very successful business model off of purely cosmetic purchases. And then of course, things like Battle Pass and like in-shop purchases for like little things that don't really amount to anything like that's influencing the competitiveness of the game or the integrity of the game, like pay to win wise. So that is what they're trying to do now, which the one caveat to this is they said the way that you can acquire characters is by doing your dailies and your weeklies. Now, maybe there's more ways. Maybe they'll be adding events for you to get the same resource to then convert that resource into purchasing a character outright. But as of now, the main concern I'm sure for some of you guys is, well, how much of this resource are we getting on a daily and weekly basis? Is it going to take me too much to acquire a character? Because if that's the case, then I'm going to be looking at that shop purchase like, oh, well, I can get the character now or I can get the character 2 months later. I understand that's a concern. I do. But guys, this is the same company that has completely changed their game upside down, left, right, all to listen to the like they're being so receptive to the feedback they've been receiving from their player base. I think they deserve a little bit of credit. Normally I say, don't give these gacha companies any credit, but they have proven time and time again that you can give them some leeway on this. The least you can do is try the game out and see how it goes, right? Before we jump the gun. I respect the skepticism, I do. But these guys have earned some leeway, okay? So we'll have to see what happens there. Let's go ahead and move on to some of the big changes. Another thing I'm looking at here, and I got my notes, is at 4630, protagonists are now playable. This was something that actually went over my head. I didn't even realize that when I played the game. Yeah, you could not play with protagonists. You could only play with like gacha characters. Well, they've now added in an option, and I guess they've added in kits entirely for you to play with the main protagonist, male or female. And I think that's huge. That's pretty cool. Dungeon timers have been removed. Wow. Oh my God. I don't know. They put this in the QOL section. This is not a QOL. Oh my God, dude. Okay. So like when you did your daily grind to, you know, develop your characters, develop your weapons, build your freaking characters, some of these modes had timers on them. And let's just face it, in the beginning part of the game, it's not as difficult as the end game. And so like you're sitting here obliterating waves of enemies, but you gotta like wait for the timer to expire to complete this daily objective. And let's say the timer's 3 minutes long, but you could clear it in a minute, like, because that's just how easy it is. You still had to wait 2 more minutes for this to end. Like it was atrocious. They have completely removed that now, and now it's based off of how many people you kill or the objective of the daily. And as soon as you can get that done, the faster you can get that done, well, the faster you're gonna get through that little objective. That is 3 billion times better than the timer induced system. It was such a chore, and it made task so mundane. Another thing I'm looking at is at 4736. These are timestamps, by the way. They've added in some movement changes to make the movement feel more fluid, more natural, such as now you can just hold down the shift button, as they mentioned, to full sprint, like auto, and it won't stop sprinting. They've added in some other things in terms of like jumping around. They've even added in like some little like hover points when you're in city to get to places faster. These things add up as you play the game day in and day out, because it will get tiresome if they didn't have these as you're traversing around the map. So W for them there. Next up, cutscene and dialogue improvement. This was actually a feedback that I had provided to them. I told them that the people like looked a bit stiff. The dialogue was kind of like dry. The scene transition looked a bit awkward. It didn't seem as smooth. And these are things that are going to make you, it's going to be very difficult for you to immerse yourself into the story consumption, because it's just not polished. It's not refined. It's not high quality. And these type of things add up. It doesn't matter how good the dialogue is. If you're not handling these other elements, well, you could just like doze off and not pay attention, or just be like completely like disconnected from the story. And so they announced that they've improved a lot of those features, but they didn't actually show anything. So I look forward to seeing what that's going to look like when the game releases. But the most massive change, this is probably top 3 biggest changes that I've seen out of all of these. It's also something that the space desperately needs. Co-op mode has been added in. in a game like this that has such a rapid, action-packed, destructive gameplay experience where you're just going around and just obliterating mobs, again, Dynasty Warrior style and stuff. It's very fun to do something like that with a friend, with 2 friends, you know what I mean, with 3 friends. And they said they're adding up to 3 friends for you to play with now. And so now you'll be able to go into these instances with 3 friends and look at kind of some of the strategies that they're doing now that all characters exist and we have like a finite amount of resources week to week. You're going to be seeing people like cook up some things you don't even have yet on your account. You went a different route, you know what I mean? And that's going to breed so much more creativity amongst the community and so many more guides and interest, because you're going to be like, wow, what is that guy running over there? Oh, dang, I'm running this build. That looks cool. I think I want to try that next. You know what? I am going to try that next. This is the kind of game that flourishes with co-op. And it's also even relaxing at times. You just get in a hunt with your friends, watch all these numbers on the screen, have a good time, and then there you go. You're chilling. You know, I cannot stress to you how much of a W it is that they added in a co-op experience. And then of course, if you want to do single player, that's still there too. Put the AI in there with you. They added in a QOL where AIs auto spawn into battle with you. You just got to set them up, choose the ones you want to play with before you go in. And then the last thing that I personally noticed that struck out to me was, of course, the most important one for mobile games, and that is mobile optimization. A game like this, you want to make sure it's mobile friendly so that people who don't have PCs can still enjoy the Duet Night Abyss game on their mobile phones. And they did announce that they've been constantly hard at work trying to make it a comfortable experience for mobile consumers. And so that's another massive W in the live stream. But ultimately, as I'm sitting here just listing off all of these changes, once again, they have been so hard at work. Guys, they probably could have, there's a lot of gacha companies that release gacha games well before the game is even prepared to be released. They have been making changes like this for over a goddamn year, man. All right, I got videos, sponsored videos on my channel. Go back and look. Over a year ago, I've been talking about this game. It doesn't even look the same anymore, man. And so I'm truly proud of these guys, of all these changes they've announced, and they have my unwavering support. I truly hope they succeed. Please, if they do not succeed, I am gonna rip you guys asunder. All right, because this is the one time where gacha players the ball's in our court now to support a developer, to send a message that this is the type of model we could support, man. Okay, like, dear God, what more could you ask for, man? All right. Now, I want to talk about the Gamescom experience next, and then after that, we'll wrap up this video. Now, I want to talk to you guys about the booth experience, which was actually one of the more enjoyable booths at the Gamescom. One of the things I really appreciated is that they had no problem with all of the content creators coming together and just enjoying the Duet Night Abyss booth all at once, so that they can not only simultaneously get the business done with us that they established, but we can also hang out with each other and enjoy the overall experience all together. And that's like probably one of the best things about going on these trips, linking up with other content creators, making meaningful connections, while at the same time meeting very kind teams such as the Do It Night Abyss team and doing what we love to do. So yeah, when we got to the booth, it was pretty much, we got to play the game for a little bit, and we got to fight up against some like bosses with some very high level gear. And let me tell you something, man, that saw blade gun has got to be one of the best chef cooks I've ever seen in the entirety of gaming, bro. It is so satisfying to watch that thing just pop off, ricochet, and do ridiculous amounts of damage. And I think that's one of the cool things about Duet Night Abyss and their style of gameplay, is it's meant to be very chaotic, and your characters are meant to feel very broken. It's a very Dynasty Warrior-ish like type of feel to it. It's designed for you to pretty much feel ridiculously powerful, and there's hordes of enemies that you're just obliterating with such a cool play style, and there is a variety of play styles as well. And so I think that's going to be like the bread and butter for this game. When people get into it and they get into those high levels, you're just going to start like completely demolishing enemies, and it's going to be very satisfying to do, especially with the co-op experience that they've now added into their game. You'll be able to do this with your friends, see what kind of chefs, like cooks, they're doing with their characters and teams. I think that'll be pretty cool. But apart from that, we also got to take some pictures with some cosplayers, of course, and the developer, the man himself, the executive producer, Deca Bear. That guy was an absolute sweetheart, very kind and very open to like just hanging out with us. He's a massive MMO nerd, which we all were at one point. Dude was super cool, and this is the type of thing I tried to tell you guys about. Like, you know, when you fly out all the way across freaking the planet to meet teams and stuff, it's very important that, you know, the developers and the lead, like, main guys of these teams introduce themselves, because we come back home and we just share these stories with the community, and it just creates a sense of trust. And like, you know, you don't feel like the guy thinks he's too full of himself or stuff. Like him coming out and taking a picture with us and hanging out with us, that will go a very long way with many creators, as well as probably the community now. And I think it's a cool thing. Anywho, continuing on, we also played a nice little dice roll game, a little bit of gacha at the booth. They might have removed all the gacha in the game, but we still had some gacha in real life, man. I lost every single one of those dice rolls. But it was a fun event nonetheless, and the booth was absolutely immaculate. I'm always very deeply impressed with how they go all out for these booths. You guys don't understand. Like, you just look at the finished product, but you don't actually, you know, like take a moment to think that everything you see at these booths that I'm showing off right now is B-roll. There were people putting it together and setting it up, guys. Like, you know, they got to Germany, brought all the stuff to Germany to set up these booths just for the consumers and the people, the attendees that are coming to Gamescom to enjoy this. It's wild, guys. That's a lot of work that goes into setting up those booths. You look at all the decorations, all of the merchandise that they've brought, of course, the statues that look absolutely beautiful and are a representation of the game that they're trying to promote. It's a lot of effort, man, that goes into this stuff, and they do it all, of course, to you know, cater to the fans and ensure that the fans are having a great time while they are there. And so, yeah, it's very impressive. Hats off to them. I suppose the last thing I want to touch up on is there were a lot of little mini games you could do to win prizes. Like if you just played the game, you got some merchandise. Like if you took a picture with cosplayers, you got some merchandise. It was a lot of little fun events like that. Like same thing with the dice roll game. If you rolled some dice, you got some free merchandise. They was just giving out stuff in an effort for you to participate in the activities and obviously have fun in that process, and then just go home with some free merch. So Duet Night Abyss at the Gamescom. It was truly an enjoyable experience. And that's gonna wrap up all of my thoughts on this nuclear Duet Night Abyss news. I'm genuinely looking forward to their release date on October 28th. If you haven't done it now, pre-register by clicking the link down below in the description box or the pinned comment in the comment section. Once again, massive shout out to the Duet Night Abyss team for sponsoring this video and enabling me to bring it to your awareness. I look forward once again to this game's release. Peace, love, and happiness. Comment down below. Let me know what you guys think. Thanks for watching. And until next time.